Hey everyone, I'm Stan.
I'm Guy.
And we're 2SD. And we're here for our November Wrestling Roundtable. In this episode, we're going to cover No Mercy, which was the day after our last Roundtable recorded. So it's a long time ago. We're also going to cover Hell in a Cell, which was just a couple weeks ago. And then just kind of the goings-on in the last month in the WWE and in wrestling in general. And there will be another video, which Mark will link at the end, which is going to cover our coverage of Survivor Series and kind of what we see as far as in the future, rumors we're hearing. So yeah, with no further ado, we're going to start with No Mercy. No Mercy 2016, like I said, occurred the night after we recorded our last roundtable. Have you seen it?
I did not.
I saw it. It was all right. So your matches, I apologize, we're not on our set yet. Our set is still under construction. We hijacked the Let's Play area and just kind of moved our own things in.
Yep.
So anyway, back to No Mercy. First match was the Hype Brothers and American Alpha versus the Ascension and the Vaudevillains. The Hype Brothers and American Alpha won. Not shocking.
No.
Especially with, the Ascension has been getting buried since they hit the main roster.
Yeah. It's weird on SmackDown, though, because they're still getting buried, but they're getting pushed at the same time.
Well, they're getting TV time.
Yeah.
And then the Vaudevillains, after an initial really good push, they've gotten shoveled underneath the pile of dirt as well.
Yep.
So I wasn't shocked by that. It was an all-right match. I mean, it wasn't anything special. It wasn't pay-per-view level, I didn't think. I guess it was on the pre-show, but...
It was an 8-man tag. So
yeah. You got to have a match like that. I mean, it's... giving those guys a chance to shine and at the same time eating up some time on your show.
Mm-hmm.
And interestingly enough, that was the only match on the pre-show, I believe. That was the only one I saw. So, moving forward, AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, John Cena, the three-way for the WWE title. AJ Styles came out on top after a interesting decision.
Yeah, to restart it because they both tapped him out.
They both tapped him out. I didn't hate it. It wasn't one of those things where I was just like, oh, fuck, stupid. But it was dumb. It was frustratingly enough. Yeah. The one thing that saved it is this match was a really good match.
Yeah, didn't John Cena just go ham right after that and, like, avalanche... AA off the top ropes and all that.
Yeah.
Really kind of try to hit everything.
It was, the match in general, we all know AJ Styles can wrestle. John Cena has improved tremendously. If this was a year ago, I would have just been like, oh God, John Cena. John Cena's, maybe he's always been this good and I'm just starting to appreciate it now. Because I kind of look more critically at it. But he's way better in the ring than he used to be.
Yeah. I think he's a worker. He's a day in, day out worker where he develops a routine and doesn't really stray from it.
Right.
But he'll put in the hard work and do it over and over and over again.
And then Ambrose is once again, he's another hardworking guy, and they put together a really good match. So it would have been the match of the card to me. Except for one that we'll come up to later. Once I saw that, I was like, that was by far the match of the card to me. So, the next match was Nikki Bella defeating Carmella.
Really don't care.
Yeah, I made dinner at that point. I kind of half watched it. On the flip side, I will say that it's better than it was when we started recording the roundtables. The women's wrestling is.
I don't like SmackDown's women division. It's just not...
The talent is there, I think.
It is.
But they're utilizing it poorly.
Yeah, when you have Natalya on the women's division,
yeah,
and you're not using her properly, that really kind of shows, like...
Well, and I'll get more into my thoughts on that once we get on the next video. But yeah, so it was a match.
It happened.
You had Heath Slater and Rhino against the Usos. They're fun matches to watch. Heath Slater and Rhino are a really fun team of just Heath Slater, the high energy guy that just gets beat down. Rhino comes in and gores people. Mm-hmm. The Usos are doing a great heel turn. You know, their run as heel here is
Yeah.
really, really good.
They win dastardly.
And they're brutal in the ring. They fight,
Yep.
you know, down and dirty. It was an okay match. It was about what I expected. Ultimately, I think that what I struggle with there is Heath Slater and Rhino, to me, aren't tag wrestlers.
No.
So you're not getting the most out of the Usos. I understand why you keep the titles on them, but it was a good match. It wasn't great, it was good. Baron Corbin defeated Jack Swagger, which I understand that they're doing the whole Baron Corbin as this beast, this whole routine, but I just don't understand why you bring Jack Swagger over and put this effort into it and then bury him by just having... Well, I guess he didn't get destroyed by Baron Corbin, but it wasn't anything spectacular. I mean...
Yeah, well, I mean, Jack Swagger's an established star. If you're going to use someone to put Baron Corbin over...
It makes sense, but the build-up to it was...
Yeah.
It was so short.
Just...
And
I'm the big dog. Well, I'm coming in now.
Yeah, and then it was just like, here you go, here's the blow-off, done. But that match wasn't all that good. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. Especially, I mean, I understand that you're dealing with Baron Corbin, who's got a little bit less experience in the ring, but Jack Swagger, wasn't he an All-American wrestler?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that maybe there's a better opportunity for Jack Swagger to fight opponents and do more of a traditional wrestling. You know, somebody who's suplexes and things like that, kind of, you know, or maybe partner him up with American Alpha. I don't know, but that we'll hit that on the next video as well.
I can see that.
I keep speculating, and that's not what we're going for here. But so yeah, that match wasn't great. It wasn't horrid. It wasn't. There's in the past there was matches that I was just like, ugh, that was awful. This recently I haven't had those. The next match was the match of the card for me, and that was The Miz and Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental title. Very, 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 very good match. Not saying like a 5-star match, but a 4.5.
Yeah.
It was incredibly enjoyable to watch. They you know, tons of near falls, lots of it was just enjoyable, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, both of them can sell.
Yep. Well, and you got Miz, who's the ultimate heel, and you put Dolph, you know, the super face. It was really enjoyable, and Dolph Ziggler came out the champ. It was, if you'd lost, his career would have been over. And really, it was played close enough to the chest that no one really knew what was going on. There was a lot of, like, I don't know if it was false rumors spread around by WWE of, like, oh, Dolph is looking at maybe working in the offices or working in the performance center or that kind of thing out there. And it became, you know, the finish became a real, almost like a feel-good moment. It wasn't like the super feel-good moments that I've seen in the past, but it was a feel-good moment, and it was a really good blow-off for a feud that isn't necessarily the blow-off for a feud. You still left something on the table there that you can go back to.
Yeah, they're still feuding a little bit.
But at the same time, it was a blow-off that, like, it was the big thing from this pay-per-view. And ultimately, at the end of the year, when we do our top 10 matches of 2016 in WWE, I'll be fighting for this as one of them. It was that enjoyable. So there's a spoiler. I don't know if we've ever mentioned that, but
I don't think so.
In December we'll be recording, so we'll miss out the end of December, but we're doing a top 10 matches of 2016, so you'll have that to look forward to. Then you had Naomi defeating Alexa Bliss.
Again, whatever.
Yeah, that wasn't a very good match. That was the worst match of the card to me.
Well, what did it take? 5 minutes and 25 seconds?
5 minutes, 25 seconds. Yeah. So it just wasn't that good of a match. And then the final match was Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton. Bray Wyatt finally winning matches. And interestingly enough, against Randy Orton.
On a pay-per-view.
who I really didn't expect. I expected them to bury Bray Wyatt again. And when we get into our future discussions,
I have to add some stuff to that.
We can discuss that, I guess, at the end of the video of just like what's been going on. But future discussions in the next video. Maybe we should save that entire Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton feud for the next video. But it was an okay match once again. I think a big part of that is you have two guys who work very different styles.
Yeah.
And and the other thing is, going into it, I think the build-up to it was poorly done, in my opinion. So by the time I got to this match, I didn't really care, first of all.
Yeah, it's a little strange.
Yeah, and it was just, I was like, if it was for a title, I maybe would have been more interested in it. But it was just a match, and it was like, this is how you're going to end your pay-per-view. And, like I said, it wasn't a bad match, because they're both good workers, but it was just a match, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. And that'll get into the future discussion in the next video of why it's so strange.
Yep. So yeah, that was the evening of No Mercy. So it was an okay pay-per-view without the AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, John Cena match and the Miz Ziggler match. It was SmackDown. It was SmackDown. But nonetheless, good pay-per-view. So moving forward, Hell in a Cell 2016. Did you watch this one?
I did not.
Yeah, the guy is even further behind than I am, and I just had a baby. My wife had a baby. But.
Yeah, I work most Sundays, if not all Sundays. So.
Yeah. So I watched it, and it was an alright show. Ultimately, I'll go through the card first, and then I'll kind of share my opinions on it in comparison to the No Mercy pay-per-view. So, the pre-show had Cedric Alexander, Lince Dorado, and Sin Cara against Tony Nese, Drew Gulak, and Arya Daivari. It was an okay match. When we get into the future, we'll cover all this stuff in the future episode. Mm-hmm. We're just gonna cover the pay-per-views in this one, and we'll cover the rest in the next one. But it suffered from everything that I think the Cruiserweight division is suffering from right now in WWE. There's no one defined. No one is. They're kind of loosely defining faces and heels, but nobody has personalities.
Except for the big two. Yeah.
There was some spots in against Swan. Rich Swan is starting to get a personality.
Yeah.
But there was some missed spots in it. But nothing bad. And I think a lot of it is these guys getting comfortable in what they're doing.
Yeah.
But it was weird because it was the faces getting over the heels. Which at the time I thought was very strange. But as we move forward now, I kind of saw where it played out later. But it was enjoyable to watch. It wasn't great. It was, once again, that was a show. It was a card match that I could have seen on the card of Raw. It would have been a good match on Raw. So then we move to the regular show, which would have been Roman Reigns and Rusev for the WWE United States Championship, with Roman going over Rusev. Much better match than I imagined it was going to be. Not because Rusev, I have all the respect in the world for Rusev, but I thought that they were going to have Reigns kind of smash him. Mm-hmm. From a wrestling standpoint, it was just kind of a brawl.
Yeah. Was the cell really used in that match?
Well, it was there for them to run each other's faces into when they were outside the ring. And the stairs got used. It wasn't a great match. I think that Rusev could have probably worked a better match with somebody else since he is so mobile. I can't just get down on Reigns. I don't know. It was a weird match. I can because I don't like him.
Yeah.
But it was a weird match, and I kind of saw the finish coming from a mile away because we're done stuffing Roman Reigns down your throat for the world title. Yeah. Well, now we're gonna stuff him down your throat for the U.S. title. And it's just kind of sucky that they, use Rusev to do that, because I think Rusev is a great opportunity for the company to have a really monster heel.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a great match. It was a very long match. It was the longest match in the card. It was 25 minutes long almost.
Wow.
And it was kind of painful. Just the fact that it was that long, because how many times can you see him just into the cell? Oh, here's the stairs. We're gonna do shit on the stairs. Like, it got old.
So it was like 4 minutes of match and 20 minutes of resting.
There was a lot of resting too, but it is what it is. You had Bayley versus Dana Brooke, which Bayley going over. To be honest, I actually, because I watched it after, while Hell in the Cell was on, I was actually recording something else for the basement. So afterwards, I went upstairs and watched it. I don't remember what I was recording, but so I got.
Tracks, maybe?
I'm not sure. We got to this point, and I got to this point in it, and I was trying to make up time, and I fast forwarded through most of the match. It was just like I'd watch a few moves, fast forward, watch a few moves, fast forward. Ultimately, I think they're squandering Bayley's talent.
I do too.
I don't think that they're using in this case, like, having her match up against Dana Brooke was like, I get that they're trying to push Dana Brooke as this heel, but it wasn't that good. What I saw of it, I can't make a full judgment.
That's another thing I need to put in my notes for the future.
Once again, we'll use this moment to make our call out to Yoda. Yoda, you pay attention to women's wrestling. Our new set has room for 3, so you need to come back and record with us. And for those of you who don't know who Yoda is, watch our very first wrestling roundtable, the one on WrestleMania. You'll see Yoda.
It's like
He used to be
long.
It is. It's very long, but he used to be our 3rd analyst, and we're missing him. We haven't seen him for a while. So, moving on. You had Gallows and Anderson versus Endzone Big Cass. They actually put Gallows and Anderson over, and they made them look really strong in this match. It was a good match, and you had the 2 tag teams on Raw, other than the New Day, that matter at all. And you take Gallows and Anderson and make them look strong, which was amazing. Just in this match standpoint, they made them look very strong. They had them do the magic killer on Enzo.
Yep.
It was a good match. It didn't make Enzo and Cass necessarily look weak, but it definitely made Gallows and Anderson look really strong.
And I think that's what they need.
That one, the tag team booking on Raw. Well, you start with the fact that there really isn't tag teams, and you finish with the fact that they've been booking it all wrong. So that being said, that's what we got. It was a decent match. It was enjoyable. It would have been a good Raw match. It was an okay, acceptable pay-per-view match. The next match was, to me, the match of the night, and that was Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins in Hell in a Cell. This match was amazing. This is by far, to me, above everything else on this card. There was some crazy things going on. I mean, just Kevin Owens, great worker in the ring. Seth Rollins, great worker in the ring. Both of them, great personalities. You bring Jericho in, and Jericho is doing some of his best stuff ever. I don't just mean best stuff in the last year. I mean, he's doing some of his best stuff ever. The list of Jericho is hilarious. I've actually really enjoyed Jericho. At first, I was like, Jericho, great, he's back. But he's been amazing, and he's way better in the ring now, too. But neither here nor there. They play the whole Healy thing where the ref gets hit with a fire extinguisher from Kevin Owens, and they have to get him out to get him medical attention. They open the cage door. Jericho comes running down, lets himself in, locks himself in the cage with him. So it was kind of a 2-on-1 against Seth Rollins. Mm-hmm. But it was done incredibly well. And you constantly was back and forth where it's like, oh, maybe Seth Rollins is going to overcome this. And you didn't know which way it was going to go. Like I said, the moves that they busted out in this match were incredible. There was one throw where Kevin Owens throws Seth Rollins out of the ring, and Rollins just full-on fucking hits the cage. They did a stacked table.
Yep. I heard that.
It was a really, really good match, and it was
the 2 chairs, powerbomb through the 2 chairs.
Powerbomb through the 2 chairs. It was enjoyable, and that was by far the match of the card. If you're going to only watch one match on this, you watch that match, and that is the match that out of this whole card. Well, I guess I'm going to give the very last match credit. That there was only 2 matches on here that I felt were definitely pay-per-view quality matches, and that was by far the best, but that was definitely one of them. So yeah, Kevin Owens won, retained his title, and I think that works to continue that feud.
Yeah, I think it does.
I like Kevin Owens with the title on him, especially with Jericho as his kind of like buddy, lackey. Seth Rollins is there letting him kind of turn face. So it is enjoyable. He's the anti-hero, but he's ultimately the face.
Yeah.
Next, you had Brian Kendrick and T.J. Perkins. Brian Kendrick came out on top, won the title.
The Brian Kendrick.
He's my favorite cruiserweight by far.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to take away from T.J. Perkins or Rich Swann or any of those guys. Daivari, they're all really talented. I think that Brian Kendrick just owns his personality better.
He best.
T.J. Perkins, I'm getting sick of the whole kind of like I'm going to try and mix video games into my speech. If you watch his promos, and the other thing is, I think if you can develop the division. When we talk about developing the division, I'll talk more about that. But this match was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't the level I would expect from these two. I've seen better matches from them. The whole fake the injury thing was cool. Actually,
that's a good heel move.
It definitely establishes Kendrick as that solid heel, and I like them putting the title on him moving forward, because that, hopefully, if they can take that, they can develop the Cruiserweight division, which we can talk about on the next video. But that was, it was a Raw match, ultimately. Although they did give him 10 minutes of pay-per-view time, which was cool. Then you had Cesaro and Sheamus versus the New Day.
For the titles. Now, my whole standpoint on that was, if they were going to put the titles on Sheamus and Cesaro, I was going to freak out, because they did not do it with Gallows and Anderson. And if they would have done that...
This is something that I can agree with. Sheamus and Cesaro did win by DQ, so they didn't get the titles.
Yep. I saw that they won, and then I was like, oh my god, are you kidding me? And then it was DQ, and I was like, oh, that's good.
I can agree. I like the whole Sheamus and Cesaro tag team, though. I think they're really fun to watch, and I think that... ultimately, I think that Cesaro deserves more. I think he is a good enough singles wrestler that he should be in a title feud somewhere. But that being said, in the position he's in, I like the dynamic they have of, like, they're both kind of trying to be the showboat, and then, and they're a lot of times just, like, ruining things for it. Like, Cesaro goes for a move and he comes by, and Sheamus will just slap him on the back and tag himself in, and then they'll switch back and forth. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, as much as I love the New Day, they're getting stuffed down our throats. Yeah. They're getting stuffed down our throats a little bit now, and it would be nice and refreshing to see some other teams be able to come in. And the thing is the New Day are really, really talented.
Oh, yeah. I think they'll break the record.
They will.
And then as soon as they break it, I think they'll drop the titles.
But the question is who are they going to drop them to?
I hope they drop them to Gallows and Anderson, because they're working.
I think that Gallows and Anderson makes the most sense, because you put it on Gallows and Anderson and you have Sheamus and Cesaro, which ultimately is a face team.
Yep.
You have Endzone Cass, face team. You have the New Day, face team. And that's really all your tag teams. You have R-Truth and Goldust, which is ultimately a face
team, yep.
Really, you've got... the only other heel team you have on the roster is the Shining Stars.
Yeah.
So,
and then you can't really turn New Day heel anymore.
No, they're face. They're face forever now.
Yep.
But so anyway, yeah, it was. It was a good match. It wasn't great. It was good though. I think that, like I said, Cesaro's probably better used elsewhere, but is what it is. And then the final match, which this is the first time you're going to ever hear this from me. It was Sasha Banks and Charlotte, Hell in a Cell.
First women's Hell in a Cell.
The first women's match that I actually felt like watching. Now, don't get me wrong. There was some spots that were botched.
Yep, I heard that.
There was a lot of things that were just kind of slow to me. The table, when Charlotte shoves Sasha Banks off onto the table, and the table only kind of half cracks, and there was a lot of things in it that were just like, meh. But it was the first women's match I've seen. I actually watched it. Does it mean I enjoyed it? No. They're both definitely tremendous athletes. And it was far better than most of the women's wrestling that I normally see. So that wrapped up, and that definitely was pay-per-view quality. So you had 2 matches on the card that were really pay-per-view quality. Overall, it was kind of boring.
Yeah.
There was nothing that crazy, and part of it is the fact that you're using... I don't like the fact that Hell in a Cell is a pay-per-view.
No, I don't really either.
Hell in a Cell should be a match type, and it should only be used in those really brutal feuds.
Yep, I agree. That's what. Well, no, Hell in a Cell was a pay-per-view to begin with, right? Or was it created for The Undertaker?
It was
Mankind.
That was not the first Hell in a Cell.
No?
I think Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker fought in the first Hell in a Cell, didn't they?
I don't know.
Or maybe it was Mankind and Undertaker. But anyway, it wasn't a pay-per-view. It was a match. And I think it needs to go back to that. This is,
Yep.
2 guys you're coming to listen to talk about wrestling. We don't even remember when the first Hell in a Cell is. We didn't do much homework this time.
And we're old, too.
I watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have a chance to do a whole lot of homework. This has been a busy month in the basement, so.
It has. He's got his vacation beard going, and I'm starting mine.
It'll be gone tomorrow. Sad. So yeah, that's basically our roundup of this month's wrestling happenings. In the next video, which Mark is going to link right now, right down here, we'll cover kind of what's gone on in the last month, what we see going on in the future. We're going to originally cover that here, but I think that covering it in the next video is probably a better idea.
Yeah.
So, if you've got anything that you've got comments on, you share opinions, things you want us to discuss on the show, whatever it might be, leave them in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, give us a like, and subscribe if you want to see more videos from us, 2SD, as we post them at least once a month on the 15th, if not more often. So, thanks again for watching. I'm Stan.
I'm Guy.
And we'll see you the next time.